people think traditional media is dead. They think radio, TV, and streaming can't be measured. That's not just wrong, it's a massive business mistake. Every time you skip those channels, you're leaving money on the table because you can't prove they work. This is AI, Lead Generation Agency Marketing, the show about building scalable lead generation systems. I'm Mikey, and today we're talking about how to finally make traditional and direct response media measurable. Here's what matters. You need a system that lets you track every single airing of your radio, TV, or streaming ad, assign a unique number to each one, and then tie calls back to those specific spots. That's the only way to prove traditional media actually works, and once you do it, you get real leverage. The key is 4 things. First, unique tracking numbers per channel and per airing, not just one number for the whole month. If a radio station runs your ad during morning drive time, that specific ad gets its own number. That's how you know which spot worked. Second, matching lift to specific airings. Don't just look at total calls from a campaign. Look at which exact spots drove the most action. Third, modeling reach and frequency like you do with digital. Know how many people saw your ad and how often they saw it. That data tells you how hard to push. Fourth, syncing the radio to search handoff so calls can be traced back to media dollars. If someone hears your radio ad and then searches for you on Google, that search needs to be linked to the ad. You don't get credit if you can't prove it happened. The payoff is huge. You're no longer just guessing about what works in traditional media. You've got the numbers to negotiate premium slots, defend your budget against skeptics, and treat these channels as real demand creators that feed into your digital funnel. Here are the specific steps you need to take. Start by assigning a unique tracking number to every channel and every airing. For example, your skincare brand's radio spots during morning drive time get their own numbers. If you're on 2 different stations, each ad gets a separate number. That's it, really. That's where the audit trail starts. Next, match lift to specific spots. Don't just look at calls from a campaign period. Look at what ads generated, what results. When someone calls in, trace that call back to that exact spot. That's the only way to know which ad actually worked. Then model reach and frequency. Use your tracking numbers to see who heard your message, how many times they heard it, and whether more exposure helped or hurt performance. You can do this with radio or TV. It's not just about reach, it's about frequency too. Finally, sync the radio to search handoff. That means when someone hears a radio ad and then searches for you, that search activity is linked back to that ad. Use unique identifiers so your system can tie them together. The one number that matters, tracked calls per media dollar, that's it. If you can't get that number, you're just spinning your wheels. If you have it, you can make smart decisions and justify your budget. Here are the mistakes people make all the time. They don't assign unique tracking numbers to each airing, which means they can't tell what worked. They try to measure everything at once instead of looking at individual spots. They ignore the radio to search handoff, so they lose credit for calls that come from media dollars. They also don't model reach and frequency properly, which makes it impossible to optimize their media strategy. And they don't build partnerships with media networks, so they miss out on better rates and inventory because they can't prove what works. One of the biggest ones? Thinking that traditional media is just a waste of money unless you have this system in place. Without per airing tracking numbers, any lift you see could be coincidence, seasonality, or another channel entirely. Don't claim credit you can't trace. Now, let's dig deeper into each piece of that puzzle and why it matters so much more than a few simple points. The power of per airing tracking numbers is huge. When you assign unique tracking numbers per channel and per airing, you're creating an audit trail that isolates the impact of every single media spot. It's not just about making data look pretty, it's about establishing a clear link between what someone saw or heard and what they did next. For example, if your skincare brand's radio ad runs during morning drive time on one station, it gets its own number. When someone calls in after hearing that exact ad, you know it was that specific spot, not a generic campaign. That means you can prove performance at the individual level. Matching lift to specific airings is where things get real. A lot of marketers fall into the trap of looking at monthly averages or broad campaign results and assuming all the ads worked equally well. That's dangerous. You have to be able to track exactly which ad drove a call. If your skincare brand runs multiple radio spots across different stations, each one needs its own number. So when a customer calls in, you can trace back that specific spot and know what actually moved people. Without this, you're flying blind, and any success looks accidental. Modeling reach and frequency is something most marketers skip because they think it's too complex. But without it, you're missing half the picture. Reach tells you how many unique people saw your message. Frequency tells you how often they saw it. For example, if a radio ad reached 100,000 listeners with an average frequency of 3, that gives you data to understand what kind of repetition works best. If you keep showing up, do more or less matter? Are people getting bored with the same message or building trust from repetition? This is where real media planning starts. Syncing the radio to search handoff is where you prove traditional media isn't just a funnel stop. It's part of your whole customer journey. Imagine someone hears your ad and goes online to search for you. That behavior should be tied back to that ad, not lost in a general campaign tracking system. You use unique identifiers so when someone searches, the system knows it came from a specific media dollar. It's like building a bridge between traditional exposure and digital action. Without that link, the whole point of using traditional media is lost. Building partnerships with media networks is one of those underused tools that actually changes everything. Once you start proving what works through measurable outcomes, tracked calls per media dollar, you're no longer just another buyer. You become a valuable partner. Media networks begin to trust you, offer better inventory placements, and maybe even negotiate discounts because they know their media dollars are going to a client who can show results. Credible attribution is the foundation of everything. If you can't prove that your ad led to a call or a search, then it's not just ineffective, it's misleading. That's why you need the same tracking rigor you'd use for digital channels, unique numbers, match lift, and cross-channel integration. No one will believe you unless the data backs it up. And yes, there are still common mistakes that kill this approach. Some people don't want to track at all. They prefer vague campaign-level reporting instead of tracking each airing separately. Others ignore the importance of connecting radio to search. They fail to model reach and frequency because it's complicated or time-consuming, and many skip the partnership part entirely, so they never get access to better rates or inventory. But here's the real bottom line. Making traditional media measurable isn't just about tracking numbers. It's about proving that these old-school channels still create demand, drive action, and work with digital in a seamless way. You're no longer just guessing, you're calculating. That's how to make traditional and direct response media measurable. Track each spot by unique number, match lift to airings, model reach and frequency, and sync radio to search handoff. The metric that counts is tracked calls per media dollar. If you're not doing this, you're missing real demand. If this helped, the full system is inside the course at learn.mikey.ai.